evening and good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Tonight, viewers, we begin with the investigation into the Sushant Singh Rajput's death case, which has now become a mystery case, a case of abetment of suicide, the massive twist that took place yesterday. Now, today, a day later, Riya Chakrabarti, who's been named by the family in their complaint and now is named in the FIR, moved the Supreme Court seeking for the transfer of the investigation from Patna to Mumbai. Strangely, the Mumbai police is extremely silent about the allegations that have been made by the family about the development that Bihar police not only filed an FIR but even landed in Mumbai to now investigate this case, a case that was being looked into by the Mumbai police for the past 40 days. We are not going to speculate. We are not going to give you random theories that have not become part of the investigation so far. What we will do is present facts to you, ask pertinent questions related to this investigation, ask questions basis what Sushant's family is claiming. That is going to be the focus of our conversation. We're going to talk about who will be taking a lead in this case. Is it the Mumbai police? Is it the Bihar police? Because neither of them seem to be in the mood to transfer this case to the CBI. I have few specific questions that the Mumbai police should answer. And their silence is very, very suspicious. Now, the Mumbai police must explain to us, were there financial transactions of Sushant Singh Rajput that was scrutinized? Normally in a suicide case, that would be one of the factors you look at, the financial possible reason. So did the Mumbai police not do it? If they did, then did they not discover what Sushant's family is now alleging? Point number two, what did the forensics analysis of Sushant's phone show so far? His mobile records, it's been over a month. Did they not find anything suspicious versus the claims that are now being made by the Sushant's family? Then we must also ask the family, and the family's lawyer has told me now that yes, they did give this in a statement to the Mumbai police that those who are close to Sushant must be investigated. Did the Mumbai police not take that seriously, not follow up on that lead? Did they ignore the points that had been raised by Sushant's family? Of course, one key point that comes up again and again is the alleged role of the B-town personalities. Now, in their enthusiasm to investigate all of that, to go after the B-town big names, did the investigation get off track, go off track by the Mumbai police? I will also want to know from the Maharashtra government and the Mumbai police, did none of the family members really raise these issues earlier in their conversations, in their statements to the Mumbai police? How is that? 40 days later, how did the Mumbai police miss this? I will also raise this question. What prevented the Mumbai police from filing an FIR? The Bihar police so quickly did so. And why are they silent now? It's been over 24 hours. Why have we not heard anything except source-based information that they are sticking by their version, they are sticking by the investigation that they've carried out, which says that they haven't found any foul play. Before I go across to our panelists, I want to go to our reporters and get you the latest on ground. Sandhya is joining me, and Sandhya, in fact, has been tracking this case since day one. Sandhya, just 2 days ago, Mumbai police seem to suggest that they have done viscera report, forensic analysis, taken statement of over 40 people and not found any foul play. What's their explanation to the allegations being made now by the family?
Mumbai police now also is firm on its stand that during the during all the informal meetings, whether it's about the meetings which took place between the family members and Mumbai police, or the statements which were recorded, because Sushant's father and the sister's statements were recorded on 16th of June itself, Mumbai police is firm on its stand that at not even a single, never did the family ever raise any questions or took anyone's name or, raised any doubts. Forget about Riya Chakrabarti's name. Nobody's name came up as far as the family is concerned. Now, this is what Mumbai police has to say. Mumbai police is also claiming that once the statements were recorded and the case investigation was going on, they were constantly in touch with Sushant's sister, But at that time also, she did not come up, she did not take any names or raised any doubts. But the question here is, Tanvi, that in such a case, why did not Mumbai police actually approach the father and other sisters as well after, let's say, 10 days, 20 days, 25 days, 30 days, 40 days for that matter, because we are talking about it's almost 45 days. Why didn't Mumbai police formally contact these people once again to see if they have if they had any new information, if they got to know anything new in the case, if they have any doubt at that stage or not? But none of that was done. It was only one sister of Sushant's family, one sister of Sushant, which Mumbai police is claiming they were in touch with. But this is what Mumbai police has to say, that in their investigation, nothing of this sort came up. Tanvi.
Okay, all right, Santya, thanks so much for bringing us that update. As far as the Mumbai police is concerned, still no official on-camera comment either by them. The only thing we've heard from the government is that they are not going to ask for order a CBI probe. Now, here is where the difference lies. This same story, two police teams, two versions. Now, the Bihar police says that they are going to focus on abetment of suicide. But the Mumbai police says, well, there is no foul play. There isn't any abetment of suicide lead that we've got. The Bihar police says they will probe the money transactions. The Mumbai police says, well, nothing unusual has been found so far. The Bihar police says that they are going to probe how Riya took control over Sushant's financial transactions, his phone calls, his connections with the outside world. Mumbai police says, well, there is no proof of Riya's dominance so far. So a lot of contradictions emerging, and obviously Bihar police is going to investigate these leads. But they are basing this case on what the family has now claimed in a very, very detailed complaint letter. And so they are here already in Mumbai. Let's go across to Neha, who's been tracking the movements of the Patna police, which is here in Mumbai now. Neha, what have they been up to all of today?
That's right. For today, Tanvi, their start has been a little slow because in the morning they were caught up in a little procedural delay because they visited two different police stations in Mumbai to ensure that they get the required procedure right as far as transferring the cases is concerned. So a couple of hours went there in the morning waiting for the DCP to arrive. But later, after afternoon, we've been told to understand that at least they have met one family member and also one of Sushant's close friends as far as the questioning goes. Today, at least two people have been questioned. We also understand that around now they are waiting to question Sushant's sister who stays in Goregaon. That process is still on, but we understand that if at all this process is going to continue for the next coming days, because remember they are trying to at least talk to the closest people who have come in connection with this actor, be it his family, his close friends, all those people who have known him for a very long period of time, so that their line of investigation, which completely resonates with the complaint that was put in by the father, wherein he has alleged how Riya Chakraborty led into the abatement of his suicide and also cheated him, that angle can come across. So yes, that remains a line of investigation, and for all that, that will also remain one of the ways in which they question the witnesses. Another very important detail, Tanvi, which they will be doing is also checking for bank records of Sushant Singh Rajput and Riya Chakraborty, because according to father's complaint, there was a transfer made of 15 crores from the actor's account to Riya's account, which was not told to the family, and they definitely want to know the reason for it. So that also will be checked. Those detailed records will also be taken. So we understand now, as of today is concerned, the police is likely to stay from the team that has been sent in from Bihar, because the investigation is not yet over. We repeatedly questioned them as to whether they are getting cooperation from Mumbai police, because there was a war of words in the morning as to how they were not cooperating or they were not happy with the fact that FIR was not filed. They have been saying that cooperation is seen, but some kind of delay is completely visible, Tanvi, considering they had to wait for a long period of time for the DCP to arrive, and they have been going from one place to the other. So it is in time we'll understand whether Mumbai police and Bihar police versions, whether it comes on the same page or whether Bihar police will have a separate line of investigation till the end.
All right, Neha and Sandhya, thanks so much for joining us. I'm not going to waste any more time. We will go into details and different angles as the conversation progresses. But let's introduce the panelists who are joining us this evening. Mr. Sanjay Hegde, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court. Mr. Aryama Sundaram, also Senior Advocate with the Supreme Court. Always a pleasure to have both of them. I also have Mayank Shekhar, film critic, joining us this evening. Dr. Ajay Alog of the JD is with us. Good to have him. But first up, I actually want to go across to the former Commissioner of Police of Mumbai, Mr. Aryama Singh. Mr. Singh, it really puzzles me how the Mumbai police claims that they haven't found anything suspicious in 40 days versus the claims that are being made by the family. In a case of suicide, wouldn't it be the first set of things that you look into? Financial transactions, the mental health of the person involved, any kind of external harassment or any other trouble that they may be into. Aren't these angles, relationship problems that the police first looks into when there is a suicide case? And if they did, how come none of the things that the family is raising today emerged? What is your view on this?
Well, I think the inquiry in the accidental death case which the Mumbai police have recorded is still in progress, and I don't know if final word has been said by the Mumbai police. I think they should investigate into all these financial transactions. They should indeed examine all the bank accounts. And now that the complaints have been made by the family members of Sushant Rajput, I think these aspects must be investigated. There is no doubt about it. But I think, as far as my knowledge goes, the statement of the father of the deceased, Rajput, Sushant Singh Rajput, had been recorded right in the beginning itself. And I understand that in that statement of his, he had not made any allegation, he had not expressed any doubts. Now, after more than a month, he has now made certain allegations. Now, therefore, there is a natural doubt whether how much of this complaint made by the father of the deceased should be accepted. But nonetheless, the matter that he has raised in his allegations, in his application, must be investigated. And until all those doubts are cleared, the final word cannot be said. Now, let me say also that Sushant Singh Rajput was an up-and-coming, a successful actor. I understand he was doing well, and he belonged to a good family. So his suicide has really raised many questions, and all aspects of the case must be investigated. A man like him, a successful man, a young, healthy man, why did he commit suicide? That needs to be investigated very thoroughly. And as far as whether it is a case of suicide or not, going by the postmortem report and the forensic experts report, it has been very clearly established that it is a case of suicide, that Sushant Singh Rajput killed himself. Now, question is, why such a man, a young man, successful man, one who comes from a good family background, should kill himself? That naturally the suspicion is raised, and that police must investigate these aspects to clear all the doubts. Now, the father says that there was a huge financial transaction, yes, and that his girlfriend was actually harassing him or sort of torturing him. So that raises a cloud of doubt, and that needs to be cleared. And until that is done, the police cannot put a closure on the case. I think the case is still under investigation. There is no closure. So to say at this stage that the Mumbai police have failed will not be very correct, in my opinion.
Okay, but let me also ask Mr. Aryama Sundaram this question. Mr. Sundaram, but 40 days of investigation, every day people are being called in, statements being recorded, and whether it was the financial angle or the mental health angle, almost all of this was spoken about, was questioned, and all this while till day before yesterday we were being given the impression that there is no foul play. Now, won't that be odd that for 40 days not even an FIR has been filed if there was something suspicious, and now suddenly Mumbai police has gone on all silent on this?
Look, Tanvi, to start with, any form of unnatural death will follow a process of investigation until all forms of foul play can be ruled out. In this case, what has happened is the police have been investigating various aspects which they were pointed at. Now, whether they did a good enough investigation till now or not is not something we can comment on. It's an ongoing investigation. Nor are the police going to divulge every day to the press or to the media or anywhere else what they're doing on a day-to-day basis in the investigation. So the point I'm trying to make is that from day one, there has been no doubt that this has been an unnatural death which requires investigation. Until now, the investigation has not been closed. It's still underway. Now, this is the situation which arises when suddenly over the last few days, there's been a spate of inquiries, allegations, everything else which have come up. This FIR which you're referring to is the first complaint given by the father and given very recently. Now, the Bombay police have never had the benefit of that to investigate into that aspect. This was never given to the Bombay police. A statement to the Bombay police when taken did not say anything of this. So you cannot fault the Bombay police. At the same time, if these allegations have been made, and if they're being made today, it's got to be looked into. Two things have to be looked into, because what is very telling is even the Bihar police is accepting the case of suicide. The Bihar police are not going on the basis that it was a form of caused death by any other person. They are also going on the presumption of suicide. But the allegation made even in this FIR which has been registered is that the lady in question and some others had a role to play in abetting suicide. Now, abetting suicide is a different kettle of fish altogether. It is somebody who really assists somebody in some way by either prompting them towards or pushing them towards committing suicide, or otherwise knowing they're going to commit suicide, deliberately do nothing to prevent it. Now, that is a very, very narrow compass in which it has to come. If it is found that the lady and he were having disagreements as in their relationship, that itself is not an abetment of suicide. Equally, if they had financial transactions, that itself is not an abetment of suicide. So it's not that easy to point to somebody and say there's an abetment of suicide unless you're able to come up with a more positive finding that of saying, look, she has pushed him and driven him actively, knowingly, that what she is doing, the step she is taking, is going to prompt this man into killing himself. Taking into account that apparently there are claims that he had a depression problem, that if it is known that she used that situation and therefore pushed him towards that suicide, it's abetment. But otherwise, what is right now there is only for the first time certain allegations have been made. An FIR has been filed. And rightly speaking, it's for the Bombay police to investigate, not the Bihar police.
Okay, actually, I was going to ask that as my next question, but Mr. Aryama Sundaram, the point you raised was exactly what was on my mind when I spoke with Mr. Vikas Singh earlier in the day. And I asked him that the claims that the family is making now, did they not say this to the Mumbai police? I specifically asked him if Riya Chakrabarti had been named by them at that point of time, or the issue of the financial transactions, or her allegedly taking away 15 crore had been said. While you're right, and he said that the financial bit was not raised by the family initially because they weren't aware of it. They did not name Riya Chakrabarti back then directly, but they did tell the Mumbai police that those who are close to him must be investigated. Now, the allegation from the family's end is that the Mumbai police wasn't following up on what was said by the family, on those who should have been facing the scrutiny, but the Mumbai police was actually taking the investigation in the opposite direction and chasing all these big names from the Bollywood industry, which is where the family actually feared that there may not be justice, and then they started looking at other options. So that's where my questions about Mumbai police's investigation really comes. We would know more if they would explain it to us of what had they found so far, but I guess not every detail can be divulged until the investigation is over. On the aspect of who should lead the case, Mr. Sundaram, you say it will still be Mumbai police that leads this investigation?
There cannot be a parallel investigation. It is the same occurrence. the reasons for
Yeah.
it, the causes for it, everything has to be investigated. You can't have two parallel police, the Bihar police and the Mumbai police investigating it. Secondly, this is a matter which took place completely in Mumbai. Even the persons who are sought to be investigated are in Mumbai. The suicide, as they've termed it now, did take place there. The police are already investigating. Now, at the most, I would say the Bihar police, if they got a complaint or something from the father, should then pass it on to the Bombay police and cooperate with the Bombay police wherever required. But the Bombay police has to do the investigation. That is my view.
Mr. Sanjay Hegde, would you agree? Because there is this conversation is still going on whether Bihar police takes charge or Mumbai police takes charge. Neither of them are saying CBI should step in. So who really takes the call and takes the lead here?
Well, the incident occurred in Bombay, right? So it has to be the Bombay police. Most of the
Yes.
incident has occurred in Bombay, including the financial transactions, if any. The Bombay police are already investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of Sushant Singh. As Mr. Sundaram said, the Bihar police can pass on any further information that they have. The FIR that they have filed can also be transferred to the Bombay police for the purposes of further investigation. I don't see how you can have a set of cops in Patna probing as to everything that occurred in Bombay and then bringing it to a court in Patna later. That's not how the system works. While they can take the complaint of the father, they register an FIR. Ultimately, after whatever little investigation or preliminary confirmation of the complaint that they do, they have to transfer it to Bombay.
Okay, so Mr. Ajay Alok, that's what will happen. The Bihar police, the Patna police can register the case basis the fact that they got the complaint. They are here now speaking to some of the family members. But is the Bihar police ready to then hand over all the investigation details to Mumbai police for them to continue?
Well, Tanvi, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not aware of the technical terms. But what I know right now that Ms. Rhea Chakravarti has filed an anticipatory bail petition in front of Supreme Court. So as a responsible citizen, I think when she has filed the anticipatory bail petition, so let us answer the matter is in front of Supreme Court. So it won't be wise on my part to decide that whether Bihar police or Mumbai police should do the investigation. That the court will also always decide. Number two, as a government, when the father decided to file a case in Bihar because of he's 74 years of age, and after Sushant was gone, he was there in Mumbai only for 48 hours. And he was in a disturbed state of mind and he returned to Bihar. And in the 40 days of course of investigation, what he said to the chief minister, that if he as a layman, just imagine for your viewers and for you and for everyone, for me also, when he as a layman can detect that there is a transaction of 15 crores, not 15 rupees, 15 crores from Sushant account to Ria's account, Ria's brother's account, their parents' account, and there is no accountability for that. When he can investigate that Sushant's medical files report were taken away from him, and it was used as a threat to Sushant that it will be disclosed in the social media if you don't listen to my words. And all this are there in the evidence form, and it was submitted to Bihar police. When he as a layman can get all these kind of evidence, I really wonder as a citizen what the Mumbai police was doing for 40 days. If Mumbai police cannot get that all those relevant information, how can the Sushant father can get that? And that's the relevant information, the relevant piece. That's why the FIR was accepted and the Bihar police team was sent there. So this is a question for every national citizen that Mumbai police with such a techno advance, if they cannot do this kind of investigation, what a layman has done, and collect the evidence, what Sushant's father has collected, what kind of investigation were you into? This is the biggest question, which will be raised in Supreme Court as an ordinary citizen, as a layman, I can tell. I'm not talking about as a lawyer. So when these points were put up in front of the government, because initially at the police station level, they were hesitant that incidences of Mumbai and it involves big name, big people, how can we take investigation? Then the chief minister's office was contacted And when the Chief Minister was shown with all these relevant facts and informations, then the Chief Minister asked DGP to take care of it, and then DGP ordered for this FIR. So when one police is taking this information very
Who were they
seriously,
concerned about, Mr. Ajay Alok? Which big names or big people was the family scared of? That they sought out Mr. Nitish Kumar's help?
I don't have any out of knowledge, but it has been alleged in the FIR that Mumbai police was asking Sushant's parents to take big Bollywood names. Now why? What was the reason for that? And all these they're mentioned in FIR. So now with this Sushant's father revelation, this case is in national.
So here is, I understand. I can see. Yes, I understand that. I can see that your government is concerned about getting justice for Sushant and justice for his family. They've come to you and you're supporting them. But how will it work if you're going to sit on the fence here tonight, Mr. Ajay Alok? Either the Bihar police investigates it or you call for a CBI investigation, because the experts otherwise say it's up to the Mumbai police, and you don't have, and the family doesn't have any faith in Mumbai police. Mr. Ajay Alok, that was to you. You're sitting on the fence here tonight, hiding behind the case being in Supreme Court. What is it that the Bihar government wants in this case? Do you want a CBI probe? Do you want a Mumbai police probe, or do you want a Bihar police probe?
See, it's not a matter of what Bihar government wants. We are going according to law. FIR has been filed in the state. We have sent it for the investigation. We expect Maharashtra police and Mumbai police to cooperate. Now, if there is until now, the family has not demanded for any CBI probe. They have trust and faith in Bihar police, and so they think that something will come out with Mumbai police. So let's see what happens in the future. We are no one to just go into. We don't have any kind of interest as such, but we are really concerned because Sushant was a Bihari. He is from Bihar, and the sentiments of the whole nation, and especially Bihar, is attached with his death. We all are very concerned and very perturbed, and we want the truth to come out. That's what the Chief Minister said, that everything possible will be done to get the truth.
Tanvi, can I say something? Tanvi,
yes,
can I say
Mr.
something here? You know, I find it very worrying when somebody says Mr. So-and-so is a Madrasi or a Kannadika or a Bihari or a Maharashtrian, and therefore it's his own state which should deal with the matter. That's not how our country functions. There is a rule of law. If anybody is unhappy with the manner in which the investigation is being carried on, there is a procedure to follow it. Of course, the gentleman, being very concerned, being the father, may have had various concerns. He may even have filed this FIR. But the right thing to do thereafter is for the Bihar police to pass it on and assist the Mumbai police with this and tell them, look, these are the factors also which are coming out. Would you like us to assist you with any investigation to this which has to be carried out with the family in Bihar? That is the way to go about it. The answer is not the man is Bihari, Sushant was Bihari, everybody was Bihari, therefore Bihar police should go into it. There is a crime which has been committed in Bombay. There are people who have to be investigated into her in Bombay. Everything has happened in Bombay. Now, it can't be said that the man who died is a Bihari and therefore Bihar police will investigate it. Once we do that kind of regionalism, I'm sorry, it goes against the very basic structure of our constitution and our expectations.
Well,
Yes. No, I understand, and it also then sets the wrong example. Maybe tomorrow you have the West Bengal police filing another case coming to the rescue of Riya Chakrabarti. I don't know. Ajay Alok would want to respond. Go ahead, please, and then I have to go to Mayank Shekhar, who's yet to make his opening remarks. But yes, Mr. Alok.
Well, Bihar is the last state to become a regional state or to follow regionalism. We have been subjected to regionalism, and that to maximum in Maharashtra. Don't forget how Biharis were thrown out, Bihar and people of UP. So please don't take our statement or my statement as a token of regionalism. Bihar and UP doesn't do regionalism. Where the regionalism arises, everybody in this country knows. So I don't want the lecture on that. Second thing, Riya Chakrabarti has applied in Supreme Court for transfer of this case to Mumbai. So let the Supreme Court decide. We are not here to pronounce a
Yes.
judgment. We have done whatever the law required us to do. We have filed
Yes,
an FIR
okay.
and we are investigating the case.
Yes, okay. But one wrong and some politics being played here in Maharashtra by a few parties doesn't necessarily mean you have to get to that. Lakhs of people from Bihar, of course, still work in Maharashtra, even though right now they may have gone back due to the lockdown. But let's move on.
Right.
Let me take up some of the points that you've made and take it to our other panelists as well. Mayank Shekhar is with me and he's been listening to everybody. Mayank, you had a few reactions in between. Would you like to start with what others have said and how you want to respond to that?
No, I think what is absolutely clear, and it's been clear for the past 40 days for sure, is how the tragedy was sad enough. I mean, it was tragic enough, that the death that took place, the alleged suicide, as it were. But the number of people with their own vested interests from all corners, with their own propaganda, settling their own personal scores that has happened over the past a couple of weeks in particular is deeply distressing. Where we completely lost sight of the fact that someone who lost his life, and that we should be investigating that. Even here in this debate, I'm hearing things about Maharashtra and what happens to Biharis in Maharashtra, etc., etc. I mean, yes, it is a state subject, and you have a government here in Maharashtra, which is Shiv Sena, Congress and NCP. You have a government in Bihar where an election is lined up, which is a BJP and a JDU government. Now, I really hope in all of this, we don't get into all of a whole new set and a combination of politicizing this issue, when things have been as straight and simple as there's a death here, and every day there are people in an outrage industry who are being forced to hate someone or the other. Find some biggies in Bollywood. Every time there's a primetime debate where someone's going berserk over some producer or the other, the producer is called, whether it's a Sanjay Leela Bhansali or a Shanu Sharma or it's a casting director. In these times of COVID, they're being called to the Mumbai police station because it makes for big headlines. But we learned nothing from June 14th till July 25th. We learned nothing until at least the family came up with a basic investigation that, hey man, there's money here that's missing. It's been siphoned off. There are all these people who were close to him. Why don't we even look there? And thank God, at least there's a new angle to the story, rather than all these vested interests and their own propaganda that I think some people should really genuinely apologize for at some point or the other, because people have been called murderers for no reason. They've been called suicide gang here for no reason. They've been called potential killers. People who had nothing to do with this case. Things that have to do with this case, I hope will at least get investigated deeper. And whether it's Bombay police that does it, or it's the Bihar police that does it, or it's the CBI that does it, somebody really should put their head down and investigate rather than just simply talk and create primetime news.
Yes, no, I agree with you, and I think somewhere the fact that just days after Sushant's death, this whole conversation became about nepotism and insider versus outsider, and the inside ugly politics of Bollywood. Maybe that had an impact and that derailed the investigation. Mr. Amin Singh, you wanted to make a point, but do you believe and would you agree that perhaps the Mumbai police also went off track with all of those comments being made by the big names in Bollywood and actually forgot to look into these actual facts that the family seems to be presenting now?
Well, let me come down very straight. The investigation which has been going on thus far became a filmy investigation. I'm sorry to say that. Making inquiries about the politics in the Bollywood cannot be a subject matter of police investigation. And where does the politics does not exist? The politics is there in the field of journalism also. There is politics in police also. There is politics everywhere. So to talk about this politics in Bollywood and to take that as the line of investigation was totally uncalled for, and I don't blame the police for that. I blame the media for that. Now, coming to the legal aspect of the whole case, I hope you are hearing me. I hope.
Yes, go ahead, please. I can hear you.
Yeah. So, Bihar police was right in registering an FIR under section 154 of the Criminal Procedure Code, and any complaint which discloses a cognizable offense has to be registered at the police station where the case is reported. But Bihar police has absolutely no jurisdiction to investigate this crime, if it is a crime. Bihar police should have simply registered an FIR at 0 number and transferred it to the Mumbai police. and given all the material that they have, they cannot come here in Mumbai and go about making parallel investigation. As Mr. Sundaram said and Mr. Dave said, this is making a mockery of the whole thing and creating unnecessary halla bulla in the whole case. Now, whether the case should be given to CBI or not, it's for the government to decide. But I think it will be making a mockery of the whole thing if a case of suicide is handed over to the CBI just because he is a film star. I mean, what are we come to? And why is this a smear campaign against the Bombay police? Bombay police has not done anything which really creates any doubt about the credentials of Bombay police. If you now say, after a lapse of about a month or more, if the father says that there were certain issues between Sushant Singh and his girlfriend and there is a certain money aspect, somebody should have told it to the police, Mumbai police. And I'm sure the Mumbai police would investigate that aspect also, now that it has been brought to its notice. But I think this Bihar police should hand over all the material so that the Mumbai police...
But Mr. M.M. Singh, if I may come in there, Mr. M.M. Singh, the family very clearly states that the Bombay police was allegedly pressurizing them. Mr. Singh, may I just come in here? The family in its complaint has said that they were being pressurized to take big names. The family is saying that they did tell the Mumbai police to look at people who he was close to. But for 41 days, Mumbai police didn't even file an FIR, sir.
I cannot believe it. This is all made up story. This cannot be true. Mumbai police cannot say you name so-and-so, name so-and-so. Which police investigating officer in his senses will say this? And why should he say this? Please tell me. I mean, this is all, that's what I said. The media has made the whole thing a filmy investigation. And media should allow the police to investigate and come to a conclusion. You can ask the questions after the police discloses, comes to a final conclusion and makes a report to the authority, the magistrate. Then you can ask questions to the police. Let the police investigate. Where does the issue come when you completely disrupt the Bombay police and say you take a suicide case to CBI? Does not suicide? Do you think CBI does not have any other matter to investigate? CBI investigates matters of national importance, big cases, not suicide cases just because it pertains to a film star. Come on, what is this? All this going on? This the Bihar police has absolutely no jurisdiction to investigate this. If it is a crime, so far Mumbai police has been making inquiry into what is called accidental death. It is not an FIR. But now that an FIR has been registered in Bihar, that zero number should be transferred to police. Mumbai police should register an FIR here because a concrete allegation has been made and take up an investigation under section 156 of the Criminal Procedure Code and investigate all those allegations which have been made in the complaint filed by the father. That is how it should be proceeded. That's my view, a legal view.
None of that is happening. Mumbai police hasn't moved an inch today. Mr. Singh, they haven't explained anything. They haven't even, and the Bihar police is going all over Mumbai as we speak, taking statements and doing their own investigation with absolutely no clear coordination between the two. And then, you're right. Okay, let's talk about the CBI probe and the demand for the CBI probe. Mr. Hegde,
financial aspects. The bank accounts, financial transaction must be a part of investigation. So that I said in the beginning that a film star of the type of Sushant Singh committing suicide cannot be suicide. There must be a very strong reason, and that reason must be investigated. If there are any aspects of financial transactions,
so if I have to take your word, Mr. Singh, if I have to take your word that this needs to be done, and if I have to take your word that Mumbai police is going to do a good job, we shouldn't raise questions, then the Mumbai police should have found something. Either there is nothing wrong in the financial transactions, either there is nothing wrong with the way, he and Ria were dealing with their financial transactions, either there was nothing wrong within their relationship, either there was nothing wrong as far as his mental health records were concerned which would raise anything suspicious, or like the family says, all of this was happening and the Mumbai police has missed it for 40 straight days. So these are the things that they would have looked into if it was a suicide case. It can only be one of the two things, and somebody needs to tell us which of the two things it is. Now, I understand. I don't want to get carried away and make this a media circus. I want to simply ask some facts here. Mr. Sanjay Hegde, should this be something that the CBI needs to look into when the two states and two police departments start fighting like this?
And I give it to anybody, give it to FBI. That is up to the government. I'm not saying don't give. It is for the government to decide. But Mumbai police cannot be holding a press conference every day and disclosing everything that they have investigated. A time will come and the police will brief the press. Give them the time. How are you running a smear campaign against the Mumbai police?
Okay.
That's not fair.
No,
That's
I'm
not
just
fair.
asking questions. I am not saying anything against the Mumbai police. I just have questions for the Mumbai police and the Maharashtra government. Mr. Singh, I will request you if you can just hold on for a minute, if I can bring in our other panelists as well. Yes, Mr. Hegde.
See, as far as the CBI is concerned, I do agree with Mr. Raman Singh that the CBI is meant for different things. Is there any doubt that this was a suicide? No, there is no doubt. The sequence of events is reasonably clear, followed by the post-mortem report. What were the causes of the suicide? Were any of the causes sufficient to make out a case of abetment? That does not seem to be currently the case, because there does not appear to be any proximate cause where an abetment case can be made out. You didn't have the lady in the house. You didn't have her handing over a rope or something of that kind. You didn't have some immediate fight at that point of time. The family has discovered that there were financial transactions, and probably some money was transferred from the man to the woman. Now, people in a relationship are entitled to do that. Whether the amount is huge or not, that depends on people's circumstances. This also can very well be looked at like the family trying to get that money back. So, do they have a sole and exclusive right to what the unmarried son possessed? Or these are things which are necessarily ought to have been fought out in the civil courts, which are now turning both into an investigating circus as well as a media circus. That is also because of the politics. People have alluded to it. And add to that, you have had some adventurers who have been floating theories only because they've had some success when they went after Mr. Tharoor and converted another case of death into an abetment to suicide. This is adventurism, which is bad for the country. I hope that the Bombay police, where the events have occurred, finish off their investigation, present the facts. Either they file a charge sheet or they don't file a charge sheet. And then whoever wants to do a Begani Shadi mein Abdullah Dewana kind of dance, please go to the magistrate concerned if you are upset with the result of the investigation and you want further investigation.
Okay, but Mr. Hegde, let me say this. So far, yes, of all the drama, and if you want to make a generalized comment about a media circus, I will even take that and not fight you back on that, even though I disagree, and that's not what Mirror Now did. But here is my point to you. This is the family that has made some serious charges. This is the family that says, well, we said a part of this to the Mumbai police, but they were taking the investigation in another direction. Now, if the whole outrage, public debate about Bollywood and what goes inside Bollywood and the media circles about Bollywood was there, shouldn't we simply now say that, well, then good, at least we are back to what the facts of the case should be and what the investigation really should be about, which is those who are around him and whether they knew anything about the events that led to his suicide. Then how is this, a circus? Isn't this what we should be discussing? Because the family is raising these issues. I am not.
There are two things. Just because they're the family does not mean that they're always right. In every tragedy, the family has such a sense of loss that they can't distance themselves. A lot of medical negligence cases, you can't accept death, and then you need to fix it on somebody as the cause. Well, you may mentally do that. You may get your closure that way, but to bring it within the four corners of criminal law is a totally different thing altogether. And then this insistence on the Bihar police. Mr. Sundaram has already illustrated it, but let me give you a different illustration. Supposing there is a robbery in my house in Delhi, and I don't find the Delhi police very good at investigating the robbery, or they're going in some different direction altogether, can I say that as a Kannadiga, I want the Bangalore police to come in and investigate? No, that is not it. Wherever the crime has taken place, it is the local police of that area which investigates. After that, in certain rare cases, there are all India agencies. They cannot be burdened with all and sundry.
Yeah.
And what is the CBI? The CBI also largely consists of police officers drawn from the various states who are there on deputation. They're as good, or the state police are as good or as bad as the CBI. It's not that they the moment they get into the CBI, they magically transform into Superman. So let us, as Mr. Singh says, let the Bombay police, assisted by the Bihar police, come to as speedy conclusion of the investigation. Let them examine all angles, including the financial.
But the family isn't happy with the Bihar police, and that's not what the Bihar government is and the police is looking at. The family isn't happy with the Mumbai police, because otherwise, Mr. Ajay Alok, all Mr. Nitish Kumar had to do was pick up the phone, call Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray and say, well, listen, here is this family that's come to me for help. They are saying their voice is not being heard. The real investigation is not being done. Please ask your police to find out and do a proper job out of that. Nitish Kumar could have simply done that rather than creating this, confusion.
Exactly.
Mr. Ajay Alok, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's take the instance of Mr. M.N. Singh only. He rightly said that Bihar police should have transferred the FIR. Now, since the FIR has been done, so they should transfer it to Mumbai police by numbering it 0. Fine. Now, Mr. Sanjay Hegde says if a crime is committed, the local police has to investigate. It's not that I am a Kannadiga, so Bangalore police investigate. Great. So, Mr. Sanjay Hegde, you accepted that the crime has been committed. Mr. M.N. Singh, you accepted that the FIR has been lodged by Bihar police and Mumbai police should turn it into an FIR. Now, Bihar police is there since Sunday, sir. Since Sunday. And today what we are debating here is Wednesday. Till 3 days have passed, Mumbai police has not converted this into an FIR. Doesn't this raises a question? This is the question to be asked by everyone. Today in the morning, Shakti Singh Gohil, MP of the Congress party in charge Bihar, says that CBI inquiry should be done. And in the afternoon, he releases a video, says that I've spoken to the Chief Minister and the Home Minister of Maharashtra, and the investigation is going in the right direction. What kind of investigation where there is no FIR? When Sanjay Hegde says crime is committed, why no FIR? When M.N. Singh says that yes, FIR has been lodged, Mumbai police should take the FIR. Why the FIR has not been lodged for 3 days? These are the pertinent questions that comes into mind of every ordinary layman. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police commissioner. I don't know the technical issues. But these are the basic questions that questions every Indian. It's not a matter of being a Bihari or a Maharashtrian. This questions every Indian. That this is what is the police for? You are not registering an FIR for 40 days, taking it as an ADR, convinced in your mind that this is an ADR, so we'll proceed in that direction. There's a video viral since yesterday, of 16 June on Sushant death, which says that if this gets leaked, ये तो हमारा पूरा investigation खराब कर देगी. What about that? So there are multiple questions. Police need to be transparent in this case, and this is a matter of public rage. It's not the thing that a suicide kit cannot be taken by CBI. It's a matter of national rage. You have to consider it. It's a matter of emotional rage. You cannot take it lightly. This is for sure. That is what our concern is, that the investigation should be proper and Sushant Singh Rajput should get justice. What's wrong in that? And let Supreme Court decide how the case is being transferred.
Okay, I just want to. Okay, you may be right in your place to demand a fair investigation and having doubts if Mumbai police did or did not do a good job. But I just want to clarify that alleged video that you're referring to is unverified. We don't know the date, and if it is from that point, and even if it is from the point where his body was found, there clearly cannot be a conversation about covering up the investigation when the investigation hadn't even started. If it was just the point of time where Sushant's body was found. So let's not please just throw out theories here to put this in the minds of people without us having the facts of what really went on here. Very quickly, Mr. Aryama Sundaram, there have been many such cases in the past as well. High profile abetment of suicide cases where many people just speak up, get linked to it for their own vested interests, but somehow justice never gets done. Do you fear that we are headed this way? Is there a possibility to stop that and ensure that a fair investigation and justice is done?
Tanvi, look, if the question was, what was the cause of death? It was an unnatural death. If the issue was, could it have been a murder or was it a suicide? And then the question of the investigation, is it being correctly done or is it being pushed away to showing a suicide? All this then could have raised a lot of questions. Here is a case where everybody seems to now, even the Bihar police, even the father, everybody says it's suicide. After that, the next step is, did someone abet the suicide? Now, as Sanjay pointed out, and I had pointed out earlier, abetment is not an easy thing. Abetment does not mean, for example, let me give you an example. A couple lives together. The couple are unhappy. The marriage sours. The wife leaves. The man then kills himself. Can you say she has abetted the suicide? If that is so, I think it's a very dangerous world we'll be getting into. Now, these are all matters of investigation. Now, because the gentleman in concern, the deceased here, is a famous person and well known in India, we are making this entire issue as to whether CBI, I cannot imagine CBI coming into a case like this. I think it would be, it would actually be an abdication of other functions the CBI ought to be performing if the CBI is going to come into something like this. In a country where all men are equal, we have to accept that some are more equal than others. Now, because of the person concerned, it's got public viewership. It's got people who are interested and asking questions and talking. And now it's become a public matter because of that. It is a public matter. But because it becomes a public matter, the law does not change. You don't change the law because of the person involved. You do not make a better. I would say that whether it was him or whether it was a man in the slum, the investigation should be equal. You cannot have a different investigation just because it's Mr. Rajput and a different investigation because of a man it's in a slum. Now, it so happens if the investigation is not proper, the law has an entire procedure of what is to be followed to ensure it is. So I think at this juncture, it is a bit premature for us to go into all this till the police complete their investigation. And we cannot all become cowboys into this and having different states sending their own police to go into the matter. Law has to take its course, and I think we have all, more or less covered what the course ought to be.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I completely agree with you. I think this demand for CBI has just become, one of those tools that people use now to become part of the entire conversation and the entire narrative. Right now, the Bihar police and the Bihar, government, the lawyer for Sushant's family, they all say, well, they're not looking at CBI probe. Even the lawyer for Sushant's family has said that. In fact, Mr. Vikas Singh, when I was speaking to him, Mr. Aryama Sundaram, he also admitted that abetment of suicide cases are very, very difficult to prove. So he too, was admitted of the fact that yes, this won't be an easy case to prove. The other aspect, very interesting, viewers, don't forget that over 10 days ago, it was actually Riya Chakrabarti herself who tweeted tagging the Home Ministry asking for a CBI probe into her boyfriend's death case. And today it's come to a point where she has had to go to the Supreme Court and said, please transfer the case to the Mumbai police to investigate. A lot of layers, a lot of interested parties, many, many vested interests. My only request and suggestion to everybody who's watching this will be to only go by the facts and official facts amongst the hundreds of theories and narratives being pushed out there by vested interests. Please wait for facts to emerge from an investigation before you jump to conclusions about who is guilty and who is not. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.